Hey, this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. This week we've got some interesting news. We're going to start off a little bit. It's something that's a little tiny bit out of our area, but enough in our area to mention it. Um, Florida citrus has not had a good time of it over the last couple of years. And especially, I can recall being in Nashville just after a hurricane had gone through Florida, and some of the citrus producers were like, I got to go back and do an assessment, and early indications are it's not good. But the juice market has been just devastated, and one of the big owners of acreage for citrus juice is getting out of the business.
Yeah, Alico said that they are shutting down all citrus operations at the end of this season for the acreage that's already contracted. And we don't cover processing, but we follow a little bit because it affects our readers to a certain degree. They are a supplier to Tropicana orange juice. And I mean, we've had in the less than 10 years, three devastating hurricanes in Florida. And on top of that, all kinds of citrus diseases. And this is further evidence that it is killing the industry. And I mean, as a chicken or the egg, orange juice consumption has dropped in more than half in the last 20 years. So it's a combination of fewer supplies, lower demand. I mean, really, if you think about it, a lot of people used to drink orange juice that you would see 20 years ago, and a lot of dietary trends are against orange juice. It's extra sugar. If you're going to get citrus, it's healthier to get it whole than it is in juice, and concentrate has a lot of extra sugar, and there's just a lot of things coming together. And on the plus side, for companies like Alico, that land that they were growing citrus on is pretty valuable, and
Yeah.
they can do more profitable things than grow citrus on it now.
They can grow other stuff. I know a couple of years ago we had some stories about what's going on with Florida agriculture, and a lot of acreage had been converted into marijuana acreage. I don't know if marijuana is the right term for it, though. Whatever they call it, they're growing that is
Cannabis.
that cannabis, that plant. Um, that plant is pretty, or more likely, houses. A
Yeah.
lot of housing, a lot of development going on there. And the we had mentioned this earlier. We were just chit-chatting about this, and I said the only person that I know who buys regularly, I mean regularly, the can of concentrate. My family, when I was growing up, we always had a can of that stuff in the freezer. But my 75-year-old father-in-law is personally holding up the entire like canned juice industry. It seems like there's the Tupper. It's even in a Tupperware, the pitcher with the plunger in it, that he's probably had for 40 years. I would have said 25 years, but that would be me thinking it's still 1998. But there aren't too many of those people anymore that are just dedicated, regular, concentrated citrus juice buyers. Even Tropicana was having a beef with its customers recently because they redesigned their bottle, similar to my beef with Promised Land Dairy and their not quite a half a gallon milk bottle that they have at Costco. The Tropicana juice bottle is no longer the same size, and consumers noticed that, and there's a backlash against Pepsi for what they've done with that. So, we semi-regularly buy a citrus juice, but you know what it is? It's fancy tangerine juice from it's Natalie's. It's sold by Trader Joe's. So people are shifting into different flavors that bring them something. More on that later. Something that seems fancier, seems more flavorful, fresher. It's and we also I saw a news release this week about one of those premium juice brands. Odwalla is actually coming back with
Yeah.
some new stuff. So shifting away from my 75-year-old father-in-law and his can of concentrate juice to other opportunities in the marketplace, doesn't surprise me that some of the citrus acreage is going to convert into something else.
And that leads us to one of our other stories, the other end of the trends, the TikTok users driving micro trends. And as much as I like to think, the boomers are totally out of it with some of the industries they're propping up. I just cannot get a hold of some of the micro trends that the TikTokers are doing.
You're
Some
not
of the
eating
trends
it.
I love and your idea, but some of it I'm like, micro trend to me says uh extremely niche.
Extremely niche. You know what, though? Those extremely niche trends can have huge dividends. Because I recall listening to the IRI or Circana, I'm sorry, Circana's year in review back in December. And John and Parker talked about one of these trends. The cucumber trend actually had a double-digit impact on sales of cucumbers. And it is still going on because I'm still scrolling my TikTok while it's still here. I got what, 10 days left allegedly until it goes away, maybe. And that Logan guy keeps coming up with more cucumber recipes. But it's not just cucumbers, it's also grapes. Um, dense bean salads, that's another thing that I keep seeing. Magnesium, everyone talking about how you can get more magnesium. Those are the micro trends. Different pizza. Have you seen pickle pizza?
Yes. Well, at least as part of a cheeseburger pizza. I can definitely see that, and I've had that. It's not bad. But I mean, you're talking about um, potatoes on pizza, chicken tenders
Yes.
on pizza. What
Yes.
what kind of 14-year-old thinks this is a good idea?
A lot of them, apparently. I saw the Raising Cane's chicken tender pizza. The Via 313, which is a Detroit style pizza chain that recently opened in my neighborhood, had an entire limited time pickle pizza. Where it was pickle, it was just still pickle pizza. It wasn't necessarily cheeseburger pizza. So we're seeing all these different trends. They are flash in the pan, they are micro trends, but you never know when something's going to go completely viral. That is part of my top five food trends for 2025. I always like to pick out like a micro thing, something that's like, what are the little bits and why behind the little bits? Why do these come about? And so different pizza is one of them. Hot honey pizza. Who would have thought that hot honey would be something that was so trendy? But if you check the Google trend line on it, I verified all of the things that I talked about. They are trending upward. If they haven't peaked already, that's the problem, is that they peak so quickly and go away. But trendy fruit and vegetables, some of the ones that I think are lasting, and it's not just like I said mangoes, peppers. Why peppers? Because Kroger picked peppers. Because Fresh Time Farmers Market picked peppers. When you see a big retailer and a regional retailer pick something like that, you know they're going to be pushing them to match up and align with their own trend predictions. So they want to see those results as well. Mushrooms. Mushrooms are something that go back and forth, and maybe the sales aren't matching the trend as much on some of these things. But if you look at stuff like lion's mane mushrooms and supplements and mushroom tea and all of these little micro trends that are feeding into it, you start to see these things merchandised fresh at retail. You never would have seen a lion's mane mushroom at a regular grocery store, and now I regularly come across them.
I noticed
So
when you're talking about items that are really trendy, they're all high flavor items. It's like ways to use natural things to create high flavor as opposed to some of the artificial ways to do it. And I think that's a really good trend for the produce industry.
yes, yes, definitely following the flavor. And that goes on to one of the other things that I talked about is that consumers want to know what's in it for them. So we want to know why we're spending our dollars. What are you giving to me? And there's all kinds of different things it can be. It can be just satiety. It can just be, I'm getting calories in. This is the best amount of calories I can buy for this amount of money. It can be value. It can be flavor. It can be all kinds of different things. But you have to have that reason. And it also feeds into the function of the functional foods. That's my why, but the biggest functional food I think is protein. And we've talked about this many, many, many times. And we got to figure out how to make sure protein aligns with the produce message as well, or produce aligns with the protein message. So I hope that everyone working on their vision boards for this year's marketing messages has protein at the top, and how to like little arrows to how can we make sure that we are part of this trend as well.
Yes, I'm glad you also mentioned the supplements sneaking into the places that fresh produce could be and having some success. I think the industry really needs to take them seriously and come up with a good strategy to combat them because they are not nearly as healthy for you as fresh produce. And I think the industry needs to take them head on and talk about why. And don't let them put a little picture of an apple or a citrus on there and then cram powder down people and telling them they're getting as good a nutrition as they could from the real thing.
And here's the deal about supplements too, is that supplements are guerrilla marketers. Supplements are everywhere on social media, and they're sneaky about it, and they're not always hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored post, but you see that little thing of them in the background of some influencer's thing, and you know they paid to get there, and it's not disclosed. And I came up with this last year where I was talking about sponsored ads and ads, and the FTC came out with new rules about it, but you know they're not always following this kind of stuff. So consumers are not always as skeptical as they need to be when they see these influencers talking about stuff. And supplements are one of the biggest unregulated snake oil kind of things that show up in all kinds of influencer and social media. And produce needs to find a way to combat these arguments and make sure that we're pointing out, hey, that green jar of stuff that you're throwing in your drink as you get ready with me while I put my makeup on and drink my little thing out of my aesthetic cup with my glass straw. You got to make sure that you know what's going on there when you're watching it.
Yes. Not me personally, but some people.
Not you personally, but maybe your teenage daughters are
That is
seeing those
possible,
things.
yes. Well, until I'm asked to buy them, I'm not too worried about it yet.
Yeah, the influence is there though. When they get their own money, when they get their grown-up money and get their own summer job, start paying for their own things, maybe they're buying that stuff too.
Yeah, well, what grocery stores are they going to go to? Because we had one of the most respected grocery surveys and rankings, the dunnhumby, what is it? Retail Preference Index, the RPI. And look who came out on top again. That
Everybody wants to know, why do you live in Texas? Like 5 out of 10 reasons I live in Texas are HEB and
yeah,
HEB related. So the value proposition. So HEB was named the top grocery retailer for the fourth time in 8 years. It dominated the retail performance index, um, and it's for its long-term customer value proposition. And we took a look at this and to see the rank changes, and that was an interesting look at what's going on with retail. HEB is number one, Market Basket is number two, Costco's number three, but we've got a sleeper in number four, and they are growing rapidly outside of their core market. Have you
yeah,
been to a Winco? Didn't you go to a Winco
Winco
for the
is.
first time?
I went last year and I reported back on it. Remember, I was in Idaho.
Yeah, your first Winco.
Yes, it was a great experience. It is a unique experience, but we've talked more than just last year, but before that, the importance of value and explaining value to consumers for retailers. And this list really reflects that. Aldi, of course, there at number four. Trader Joe's jumped all the way up to number six. Um,
Lidl is
so
on the list now.
Yeah, Lidl dropped or jumped into the top 20. Value is a huge deal, and it's not just value because Walmart slipped actually. They slid one spot. Where are they? Number 11. You can't just have value. Value definitely helps, but value with some options and some unique and maybe even luxury type items in addition to the value. I mean, that's a perfect way to describe an experience at HEB or Costco um, or Aldi. I mean, you can buy the cheap stuff cheaper, and then you also get the fancy meats and cheeses. It's like I mean, these retailers are separating themselves from the pack, and this chart explains that perfectly.
Yeah, yeah, to your point, as I'm scrolling TikTok, I'm noticing more and more I notice ads from two retailers, and it's probably because of my targeting or whatever's going on in my algorithm. I see Aldi ads and I see Whole Foods ads, and that is just kind of crazy to see who's on there and who's advertising there. And Aldi, all of their ads are either talking about fresh produce or charcuterie. They're not talking about your box of off-brand Life cereal, or canned tomatoes. They're talking about the freshness that you can get. And so is Whole Foods. I'm also seeing like Earthbound Farm has ads on there that's talking about they use a you spent $386 in 10 minutes, and it's a sound from TikTok, and it's like, well, in my defense, it was at Costco, and it's an Earthbound Farm ad for salad. So there's all kinds of really interesting ways that they're trying to reach this target demographic. But I'm also looking at this list. It's like they're highlighting regional retailers. They say Kroger and Albertsons banners suffered rankings declines, with steep declines in states where the ongoing high-profile court cases regarding their merger.
Yeah.
So that was maybe written before the merger was finalized in as in deceased. Let's see. Lidl ascended 14 spots to move up to the top quartile for the first time, and it saw modest improvements in a few areas: prices, digital, and operations. And then they were rewarded in the quartile for talking about savings, which is their strength, and the downtick in importance of quality, which is their weakness. It's a really fascinating list. There's a lot to dig through, and I would absolutely recommend everyone go take a look at it.
Well, I think that's about it. We also, in sad news, during this huge football season, avocado supplies are going to be limited in January. Hopefully, we get them up before the big game in uh, early February in New Orleans that my team is in every year.
Yeah, you know what?
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Yeah, don't. Let's not count our eggs before they're hatched. But yes, so we're hearing early reports that the avocado market is going to slow down a little bit just as it ramps up to its biggest holiday, which you mentioned is the Super Bowl. We also have all of these all the college football games that have like lingered into January. I'm not sure how to feel about this, but my local team is playing today in the ice in Dallas, hopefully. Um, but also we're gonna have to keep an eye on it too, because what's going on in California. Maybe we need to get a report from the California Avocado Commission about high winds. I'm seeing a lot of TikTok videos of avocados rolling across people's yards in Southern California due to the high winds getting knocked off the trees. That fruit is sizing up, getting ready to harvest later this spring. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well.
We will.
All right, that's it for the Produce Reporter Week in Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter newsletter, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up.
And that is one of my new Christmas gifts.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Avocado
I don't
pen.
have any, I don't have an avocado with me. I have a green bean.
It's a light up avocado pen, not
I
just
don't. That is nice. I have an Apple pen somewhere around here. Gotta find it. I don't know where it is. My desk is too messy.
post holiday hangover.